The cold wind rustled the dried grass, and beside the cracked road where cars no longer passed, a small figure sat alone. For days he hadn't moved. People saw him and kept driving. No collar, no leash. Just a tiny brown puppy, curled tightly under a broken tree limb, eyes fixed on the same patch of dirt, as if waiting for something that would never return. That spot was where his mother had taken her last breath. She had died protecting him, pushing him out of the path of a speeding truck. It happened in a blur. Her body took the brunt of the impact. Locals said she whimpered once, then went still. But the puppy? He never left her side. When animal control came, he ran into the nearby woods and returned only after they had taken her body. Since then, he had been waiting. A shopkeeper named Miguel noticed the puppy during his morning deliveries. The first day, he thought it was a coincidence. The second, he slowed down. By the third, he stopped entirely. "Hey, buddy, you okay out here?" Miguel asked softly, stepping out of his van. The puppy didn't move, just blinked slowly, as if hoping Miguel might bring his mother back. Miguel tried to approach, but the puppy backed away under the broken limb, a soft growl escaping his throat, defensive, not aggressive, protective of a memory. "I see, you're guarding something, aren't you?" Miguel said, placing a small sandwich down before walking away. The next morning, the sandwich was gone, but the puppy remained. Days passed. Rain came. The puppy stayed. Miguel couldn't shake the image. The tiny dog refusing to give up. Miguel knew grief. He had buried his own mother 2 years ago. That look in the puppy's eyes? He had seen it in the mirror. So one morning, he brought a foldable chair, a thermos of coffee, and a blanket. He parked a few feet away and just sat. Quiet. No sudden moves. Just presence. The puppy eyed him, alert and tense. 3 hours passed. Miguel didn't budge. At noon, he gently placed a bowl of chicken broth near the tree. Then he returned to his chair. Still nothing. But the next morning, the bowl was licked clean. And when Miguel arrived again, the puppy's tail wagged. Just once. Quick, uncertain. Miguel smiled, heart aching at the sign of hope. "There you go, you remember me now." He named the puppy Chance. Each day became a silent routine. Miguel came. Chance waited, still rooted to the same ground, but his eyes began to soften. One evening, dark clouds rolled in. Thunder rumbled. Miguel rushed to the spot with a plastic tarp. He saw Chance curled under the limb, shivering. "Okay, boy, I'm going to help you now," he said. Chance flinched as Miguel crouched, but didn't growl. Slowly, Miguel draped the tarp over the branch, creating a makeshift shelter. Then, with careful hands, he slid the blanket underneath Chance. "Just for tonight. You're not alone, okay?" Miguel whispered. The rain came hard. Miguel stayed in his van all night, parked just feet away. By morning, the storm had passed, but something had changed. Miguel stepped out. Chance was sitting upright, his ears perked. When Miguel approached, the puppy didn't run. And for the first time, he let Miguel touch him. That single moment, warm, soft fur beneath his fingers, felt like a door cracking open. Miguel knelt beside him, voice breaking. "You don't have to wait anymore, little guy. I'll take you where it's warm, where it's safe." But as Miguel reached for a leash, Chance suddenly froze. He looked back at the empty patch of dirt beneath the tree limb, the same place he'd stared at for days. Miguel followed his gaze, then gently said, "You don't have to forget her. Just carry her with you." He opened the van's back door wide. "Whenever you're ready, I'll be here." And Miguel waited, just like Chance had. Miguel returned every morning, coffee in hand and hope in his heart. Chance no longer flinched when he saw him. Instead, he waited with alert eyes and a cautious wag of his tail. Still, he hadn't crossed that invisible line, the one between the past and the future. Miguel respected it. Love, he knew, couldn't be rushed, especially not with broken hearts. He brought new treats, soft scrambled eggs, warm rice, bits of chicken. Chance accepted each with growing trust, inching closer with every meal. But he never stayed long after eating. He'd always return to the tree, as if afraid someone might come back for him, or worse, that they wouldn't. One afternoon, Miguel brought a toy, a small rubber ball. He set it down nearby and gently tapped it toward Chance. The puppy watched it roll, then looked at Miguel. He didn't chase it, but he didn't run either. The next day, the ball had been moved, just slightly. Progress. It had been 12 days since Miguel first stopped for him. Now, Chance let him sit close enough that their shoulders nearly touched. Miguel dared not breathe too loud. But in those silent moments, something passed between them. A quiet understanding that grief didn't have to be a solitary burden. Then came the 13th day. Miguel arrived earlier than usual, only to find the space under the tree empty. Panic surged. He called out, "Chance! Buddy! Where are you?" The roadside was silent. The bowl untouched. The blanket unmoved. Miguel's heart pounded. Had something happened? Did someone take him? He checked the nearby woods. Nothing. Then he heard it, a faint whimper. He followed the sound down a shallow ditch, thick with brambles. There, curled at the base of a bush, was Chance. His paw was tangled in barbed wire, eyes wide with pain but trustingly still. "Oh no, hey, it's okay, I've got you," Miguel said, kneeling beside him. He reached into his bag and carefully cut the wire, freeing the trapped limb. Blood stained his jeans as he lifted the trembling puppy into his arms. For the first time, Chance didn't resist. He pressed his head against Miguel's chest, eyes fluttering closed. "You held on this long. Just a little more, okay?" Miguel rushed him to the vet. The injury wasn't too deep, but the vet said Chance was severely dehydrated and malnourished. He needed care, warmth, and rest. Miguel looked down at the sleeping pup in the exam room, curled into the towel as if it were his mother's side. "He has a home now," Miguel said softly. "With me." He brought Chance home that night. It was a small apartment, bare walls, dusty books, and a creaky old couch. But for the first time, it felt like it had a heartbeat. Miguel laid the same blanket from the roadside near his couch. Chance limped over and lay on it without hesitation. Over the next week, Miguel worked from home, watching Chance heal, both in body and spirit. The limp faded. The tail wagged more freely. And one afternoon, without prompting, Chance brought the rubber ball to Miguel. Tears welled up in Miguel's eyes. "You're ready, huh?" They played for the first time. Just 10 minutes. But it was laughter and barked joy and the sound of something beautiful returning. At night, Miguel would read out loud, and Chance would curl at his feet, head resting on the old blanket. But still, every now and then, Chance would walk to the apartment's sliding door, stare into the night, and let out a soft, mournful whimper. Miguel would kneel beside him, rub his ears, and whisper, "She'd be proud of you, little guy. You survived. You're still loving." But there was one more step, one final goodbye that Chance hadn't made yet. So, on the 21st day, Miguel packed a small bag, laid the blanket in the back seat of the van, and opened the passenger door. "You ready for a drive?" he asked. Chance jumped in. Miguel drove back to the tree. The road was quiet. Sunlight poured through the branches. The broken limb still lay there, a silent marker of love and loss. Miguel laid the blanket down on the same spot where Chance had once waited. Chance stepped onto it slowly, looked around, then sat. Minutes passed. Then Chance walked to the bare patch of earth beneath the tree and pressed his nose to the ground. He didn't cry. He didn't whimper. He just sat. And after a long silence, he turned and walked back to Miguel. Tail high, steps light. He had said goodbye, and he was ready to go home. Miguel opened the door. "Let's go, buddy. Let's live the life she gave you." And together, they drove away from the roadside and toward a new chapter neither of them had expected to find. Weeks passed. The seasons began to shift, and with them, so did Chance. He no longer flinched at loud sounds. No longer looked back when they passed the place he used to wait. His eyes had brightened, wide with curiosity instead of fear. He had begun to run, to play, to explore, just like a puppy should. Miguel found himself smiling more too. He hadn't realized how quiet his life had become until Chance filled the silence. It wasn't just the pitter-patter of paws or the squeak of rubber toys. It was presence. It was warmth. Miguel started taking Chance to the park each morning. There, other dogs played off-leash, and though Chance was cautious at first, he gradually joined in. One morning, a golden retriever named Daisy bounced up to him, nudging him playfully. Chance hesitated, then gave a small bark, tail wagging. Miguel watched from a bench, arms crossed, tears threatening to rise. "You're doing great, buddy," he whispered. She'd be smiling. People began to notice Chance. A woman asked about his breed. A young boy knelt to pet him. One elderly man said, "That dog's got soul in his eyes." Miguel nodded. He's been through more than most. As time passed, Miguel took pictures of Chance, running in the park, sleeping upside down, nibbling on socks. He posted them online, and the story of the puppy who waited for his mother went viral. Thousands of people were moved. Some cried. Others shared stories of pets they'd lost. One message stood out. A little girl from another town wrote, "Dear Chance, I lost my cat last year and I cried every day. But seeing you get better makes me feel like I can too. Thank you for being brave." Miguel read it aloud, his voice thick with emotion. "You're helping people now, Chance. You're giving them hope." Months rolled into a year. On the anniversary of his rescue, Miguel and Chance returned to the tree one last time. This time, they didn't come in grief. Miguel brought flowers. Chance carried the rubber ball in his mouth. They sat under the tree for a while, the late afternoon sun casting golden light over the spot that once echoed with sorrow. Miguel laid the flowers down gently. "Thank you," he whispered, "for giving me this little soul." Chance lay beside him, head on Miguel's foot. There was no more fear, no more waiting, just peace. As the wind rustled the leaves, Miguel looked down at Chance and said, "You know, sometimes we think we're saving them, but maybe they're saving us." That night, back home, Chance curled beside Miguel on the couch. The old blanket was still there, but it had been washed, mended, and folded with care. Miguel had sewn a patch onto it, embroidered with one simple word: home. They didn't need many words, just the quiet comfort of knowing that love, once found, never truly leaves us, and that even the smallest hearts can carry the deepest courage. Final reflection for voiceover conclusion. To anyone who's lost someone they love, to anyone who's ever felt alone, remember Chance. He waited in sorrow. He stood in grief. But he walked forward, into love, into trust, into life. Because sometimes healing doesn't begin with forgetting. It begins with someone who chooses to sit beside your pain and say, "You're not alone anymore." And that changes everything.